So a little bit about me. This is my 10th year in South Berwyn, School District 100. I started as a fourth grade teacher. I taught fourth grade for 7 years. I piloted one of the first one-to-one classrooms back in the spring of 2010. And then as the years went on, the pilots increased, and so thus my role changed. I moved into a coaching role for 2.5 years, and now as instructional director, I lead the team of coaches as well as oversee the one-to-one program for South Berwyn. Please tweet at me throughout the webinar at Shannon Soger, or connect with me on my blog at iteachabovetheline.blogspot.com. You can use one of the hashtags for Berwyn, hashtag BSD100 if you are tweeting. Okay, so let's kind of start with the basics here and talk about SAMR. So SAMR is a model developed by Dr. Berwyn. He's a researcher that started his research out in the state of Maine, where back in 2002 every 7th grade student was issued a MacBook. That program continued as the students went into 8th grade, and what Berwyn found in his research is that learning outcomes significantly changed depending on what tasks were being completed with the technology in classrooms. And so that lowest level of integrating technology in the classroom was substitution. And that's where the tech just acts as a direct substitute with no little or functional improvement. I think this is the easiest level to understand in SAMR. And basically, instead of reading that textbook or writing that paper, or typing that paper, I'm doing it on my device, on my iPad or on my laptop or Chromebook, etc. Augmentation is when the technology acts as a direct substitute, but there's functional improvement. For example, now the ability to speak to text or to change the language or to highlight text and have it speak to me with a particular dialect. Being able to right-click and highlight or 3-tap on a word and bring it to a dictionary. These are tools that are helping with functional improvement, but it's not really changing learning outcomes. And then when you get above the line, which is what we're talking a lot of above the line examples today, kind of what we're doing here in Berwyn throughout the rest of the presentation, is at the modification and redefinition stage. And modification is where technology allows for a significant task redesign, where now perhaps I'm taking that article that I read and typed and researched and putting that piece together into a poster or paper and adding a movie and making a movie out of my research, out of pictures I've taken, out of a video clip. Maybe I'm doing an interview with somebody at home, kind of taking multiple applications and putting them into one, kind of app smashing, if you will. That's where I like to see modification at. And then redefinition brings that to the next level. So now it's kind of like, what do you do with that movie that you've created that has pictures and audio and music that the child created to go with their project? What do you do with it next? Perhaps putting it into an iBook and publishing it in iTunes, but making it more collaborative and expanding it beyond the traditional 4 walls or one school. We'll go into more examples throughout the presentation, but please check out Dr. Berwyn's web blog, as he puts every presentation he's ever done out there. It's a great resource. So SAMR is all about transformation of teaching and learning, and like most of you probably listening, you're in one-to-one school environments, and it's not just about that device, right? So we're getting all these devices, and we constantly say it's just a tool, but what are we doing with that tool to change and transform teaching and learning? And so to give you a little bit of background information on Berwyn, so I can help share the Berwyn story, is we have just over 4,000 students. We have 8 buildings, 6 elementary buildings, and 2 middle schools. Our district ISAT scores are at 50% meets and exceeds, and this is current data from the Illinois Interactive Report Card. Versus the state meets and exceeds ISAT scores were at 59%. We've actually had a 6% increase over the past last year. As most of you know, those the qualitative data tells us a lot more about what is the teaching and learning happening in Berwyn. But got to take a look at our demographics here. We are 74% low income, 82% of our Hispanic, 25% ELL learners, and we're in the bottom quartile for funding. The majority of our students come to school 2 to 3 reading levels behind English as their second language, and so they have a lot of struggles. And so 8 to 3 is just not enough time in the day for our kids. And so we've started this one-to-one program that allows students to have a device 24/7. So a little bit about our one-to-one wireless device program. Back in 2010 to 2011, we were at 6% one-to-one. We had 10 pilot classrooms. The following school year, we were at 60% one-to-one. So we added 90 classrooms by the end of that school year. And what's really important in between these 2 years is that it was teacher leaders who were willing and were ready to move forward with the pilots. It wasn't like, okay, well, Shannon's teaching 4th grade. That's where one-to-one is starting in 4th grade and in 7th grade. Let's just do all the 4th graders in the district. It was, if you were a 1st grade teacher and were ready to try on bringing devices in your classroom, you were given that opportunity. The following school year, we became 100% one-to-one, 151 plus classrooms. Kindergarten through 8th grade had either access to a MacBook or an iPad. We are mostly MacBook, about 3,500 MacBooks and about 1,500 iPads. It was in 2012 we were also recognized as an Apple Distinguished Program. The next school year, we applied for the recognition again, and basically this recognition is based on 5 categories that you see up at the top: visionary leadership, innovative learning and teaching, a flexible learning environment, compelling evidence of success, and ongoing professional learning. So I'm going to kind of touch on those a little bit more throughout the presentation, but basically when Apple did their research across one-to-one schools and initiatives across the U.S., they noticed the successful programs were very common in these five areas. Finally, this school year, we are excited to announce that we will be holding our first EdTech conference at the end of the school year, hosted by our own teachers, and our own students will be showcasing. It is a 2-day event in May 8th and May 9th. So if you happen to be local or feel like flying in near Chicago, we would appreciate that on May 8th and May 9th. Let's talk about visionary leadership behind SAMR. So, because this really talks a lot about the culture. In South Berwyn, every single one of our principals also has a district-level position. For example, Mary Havis is the Director of Assessment. She's also the principal of Irving Elementary School. Marilyn McManus, she's the Director of Professional Development and the principal of Pershing Elementary School. What this has done, it has created this kind of flat-like culture, and so where all the schools are learning and sharing from each other across the district. Like, for example, Jeremy Majeski is the Director of Literacy. That's where his knowledge is, but the other schools have the choice of deciding how they are integrating their literacy programs in their schools, but they look to Jeremy in most for that guidance and help and support. But with this, all of our administrators are learning as they go, just like our teachers. And so in the upper right-hand corner, you see a picture of a principal and 2 assistant principals who are working on a blended SAMR ladder at a summer professional development. Innovative teaching and learning. This is all about SAMR, and so I want to kind of touch base on this SAMR timeline. Please write that URL down or take a screenshot of it or visit it right now if you'd like. I have documented our SAMR timeline since the very first time I learned about SAMR, which was in June of 2011, up until today, up until today, yesterday actually, when we held our our second professional development day. That was our iLearn Ed Camp style, where teachers literally came to professional development yesterday and they took learning into their own hands. They decided what they wanted to learn about, and they were in charge of their learning. SAMR is a process, and it's about growth, and it's about laddering, bringing initiatives up, and constantly pushing and moving forward with what you're doing with teaching and learning and integrating the technology. And so what I really like about this timeline, and all those little plus signs at the bottom, if you go to that website, it shows you different ideas, different events that has happened over these past couple of years. But it basically kind of started with me. I was at an Apple Academy and I learned about SAMR, and then the following year we were at a briefing center and we went to this initiative out in Maine and learned more about SAMR, actually from Dr. Berwyn himself. Then we, at the August 20th, we decided we were going 100% one-to-one, and prior to that we started teaching about SAMR to all of our staff. And then today we got these fancy T-shirts made that say "I teach above the line" with a QR code on the back that kind of linked them to going back since 2011. Another important event that we started last year is we developed ALT. It's called Above the Line Teacher. It's a teacher recognition program in Berwyn where it recognizes teachers for consistently who is interested in, more specifically, getting a lesson above the line. And then you can go and observe or learn from for example, Michelle Thorne or Christina Batts, so you can follow Sarah Larson on her blog and read about what she's doing in her classroom. So, innovative teaching and learning. This is Iris. She is a first grader at Irving Elementary School. And how the technology has completely transformed Iris and how she's learning this school year is through a blog. So Iris's mother travels, is on a road tour currently for Jersey Boys. And she came up to her teacher, and Iris's mom came up to Melissa Kwiatkowski, first grade teacher at Irving, and said, I'm going to be taking, Iris is going to be here for the first couple weeks of school, and then I'm going to be homeschooling her the rest of the school year. Is there a way that we can communicate and still kind of work together? Are there some things that you can give me while we're gone throughout the year that I can keep Iris on track and help homeschool her? Because she will be coming back to Irving School in second grade. So the teacher said, well, let's start a blog. And Mom purchased the child her own device, and they blog back and forth. And Iris's blog is irisontheroad6.blogspot.com, and she is blogging with Ms. Quintana, and basically they also come in through Google Hangout. So they bring Iris in. She hangs out with the classroom once a week or around that, depending on their travel schedule. And the kids, they say, you know, where are you, Iris? She's like, oh, I'm in San Diego this week, and this is what the weather's like, and this is what I'm learning, and this is what I'm seeing. And then the kids, you know, they're talking back and forth. And then the teacher is communicating through her blog and sharing the kids' writings. So this is just one example of what the technology has enabled, you know, just providing that initial access to this teacher. Now came up with this incredible idea to keep her first grader connected with her other first grade classmates. Another example of some teaching and learning above the line. This is Miss Bouchel. She is a middle school science teacher, And at Freedom Middle School, they are lucky enough to have a 3D printer. And so as of right now, I'm just kind of sitting there. It's not, we're learning how to use it, but it's not really being used. And so they just got it. Miss Bushell says, you know what? I want to create a 3D printing club. I have no idea how to use it. I don't know exactly what we'll be building, but I want to start a club. And it's going to just be whoever's interested. I'm going to put a flyer up. So that little flyer says, would you like to design and create using Freedom's awesome 3D printer? So literally these are all the kids that showed up on the initial day, and they just kind of talked about what a 3D printer is and what types of things they might want to design. And now the students have kind of all split into groups, and they are they all have different projects going on with what they want to design using Google in Google SketchUp or another application that they will print and eventually actually kind of sell back to their peers. So the girls want to make these, you know, beads that you can get a different one, or bracelet that you can get a different bead each different type of holiday. But they want to make different like Freedom logo things, and I don't know, the possibilities are endless, but this is what one teacher just kind of started in her classroom, again, because she has this access to the technology. Often you hear, so Shannon, so we get site visitors all the time throughout South Berwyn. We've had over 600, maybe over 650 people travel through our doors over the past 3 years. Like I said, we're just a small city just outside of Chicago. But they say, you know, things like, well, how do you integrate the technology in gym class or in art class? Or, you know, I could see how you would, you know, do this blogging thing, and okay, you know, what about in gym? Well, this teacher, he's Twitter handlers at Bike with Mike. Mike Balcaster, he is a middle school PE teacher, and at Freedom they have a fitness-based PE program where actually they earned a $1 million grant from United Way and Office Max a few years ago, and so they completely transformed. They completely transformed their fitness area. So they have a gym, but then they also have like a fitness gym, kind of like you would see if you go to Export or whatnot. And there's weights, there's cardio equipment, and then there's big flat screen TVs on the walls. So Mike wanted his students to do this interval biking video that he found on YouTube. And it was of somebody biking through whatever city, and the intervals were going up and down, and the difficulty level was increasing, and then they would take breaks and all that. So basically Mike says, you know, I want to make our own video like that, but I want to make it in Berwyn, and I want our kids, I want to, you know, so when we do these biking cardio exercises in PE, it's from our own city, visiting our own schools, going through our own streets. So that was his idea last spring. Well, the summer kind of went by, and he didn't get the kid. It kind of always had the idea, but just couldn't get it off the ground. Well, in the beginning of the school year, Mr. Belcaster was inspired by the slow roll. If you haven't heard about it, you can go ahead and Google that. It's about a guy out in Detroit who kind of brought the entire Detroit community together in the streets through his bicycle, and he used his iPad to map out, to communicate with everybody through social media, and to map out the route that they were going. And so it was a commercial, and it was on, you know, and so the kind of this whole biking idea came back up again. And, you know, Mike says, Shannon, you know, I want to do that. I want to do this. I'm like, all right, let's do this. And so we planned a day. We went after school. We got some kids and some teachers together, and we recorded we took a GoPro camera. The assistant principal, Lindsay Lard, had a GoPro camera on her forehead, and we rode throughout all the schools in Berwyn. Mike actually just posted this video on YouTube. It's about 40 minutes long because it's an intense, like, interval training video. But he had never made an iMovie, so we went on a 45-minute bike ride, and then we took that footage, and I sat down with him as a coach and helped him, showed him how to edit the clip, how to speed up things, how to fast forward, how to do picture-in-picture, so we could have a timer on there. And really just created this amazing, amazing video for his students that is all about, and brought our community and teachers and kids together. So that's just one really cool example of how you could maybe use it in PE. So our instructional coach model, teaching and learning above the line. So teachers can be doing great things in their classroom, but sometimes it's hard getting it out of that classroom, right? It stays put right there. I'm sure you can think in your head you have those star teachers who kind of keep to themselves, and it's hard because they are busy, right? You've got kids in your, especially as an elementary teacher or any teacher, you've got kids in your room for 6 hours straight. And so sometimes these great things are just kind of stuck in these classrooms. And so in Berwyn, when we were moving forward with one-to-one, we switched from a computer class model to an instructional coach model that several schools and districts are doing across the U.S. And with our model, the I stands for instructional, and it's clearly instructional. So these coaches, they are not in charge of helping you fix your smartboard or download that app that's not working. They probably could help you figure it out, but we strictly focus on their instructional side. And so that being said, they have this flexible schedule where they can go across 8 buildings. So they get to pick which teachers they want to work with, and they are with those same teachers. Their job is to clone themselves, 5 to 7 teachers throughout the whole year. And so rather than, okay, Mona, she's one of our coaches, you're at Pershing on Tuesday and Irving on Wednesday. Well, those Irving teachers know Mona's coming on Wednesday, so they're going to save their techie questions for Mona, or they're going to, and it's just having a flexible schedule really enables them to go in and out of multiple classrooms and really truly be seen as instructional, not technical. Any coaches out there listening, I'm sure you can understand or have experienced the same thing. So their job is to clone themselves. They work with teacher leaders, or they work with teachers who want to be coached, who want to learn, who want to take their lessons from augmentation and move them up to modification. Or maybe they're a superstar teacher and they want to take something from modification and bring it up to redefinition. And what this does in our coaching model is that these teacher leaders, at lunchtime, after school, before school, they're going to be the first to go and tell their peers, their colleagues, oh my gosh, guess what we did? I'm working with Mike and we made this video, and the music in the background is da-da-da-da. And so he's kind of bringing, now guess what, the PE teachers at the other schools are saying, I want to do something like that. I want to make a movie, or I can do this. Rather than coaches going into a classroom with a teacher that does not want to be coached or doesn't want to move. My coach's influence is not going to be spread with the teachers if they're coaching teachers that do not want to be coached. So this is how we use our model in Berwyn. And then finally, we integrate SAMR and TPAC into our meetings. So every month I meet with the coaches, and we have our meetings all through in iTunes U-Course, and we actually take time. At the end of last year, we walked our coaching model up the ladder. One of our coaches was being moved up to an administrative position this year, and I was told that I was not going to be able to hire another coach. And so our job was to try to move, to continue spreading our influence across 8 schools, but having one less coach, so only having 3 coaches. And so we sat down and we walked this collaboration piece up the SAMR ladder, and ended up coming up with an amazing tool called using Google Communities, how we are showcasing teachers, one on the refrigerators, we would call it the fridge, where we're showcasing, they and other teachers are showcasing visual projects that you would put on the fridge. And then the toolbox is kind of more of a private community where teachers are posting and sharing questions and resources rather than flooding up everyone's inbox. So to learn a little bit more about coaching, you can please check out our hashtag iCoachBSD, BSD100. This is our coaching team and their Twitter handles. We took this photo at the beginning of this school year because we found out that these were all the years, or these are years that in education. So it was interesting that we were at 5, 10, 20, and 25. So I'll give you a second to screenshot that or type in those Twitter handles. And here's the splendid ladder that I was talking about. So I presented with the fabulous Apple Distinguished Educator Josh Micah and R.J. Gravel. He is out in Jonesburg, Illinois. Josh is in Naperville. But the three of us presented at a Tech Forum Chicago in May of last year, May 2014. The hashtag was TLTF14. And what the three of us decided we wanted to present on was combining, because Josh and I were very SAMR focused, and RJ wrote his dissertation on TPAC, and it has a phenomenal book, actually. You should check it out. We wanted to intertwine these models, and as teachers, we can understand that SAMR is at 4 levels, but it's like, how do we get there? And it's more than just, oh, I want to make an iMovie, or I want to start blogging with my kids. Why? It kind of has to bring it all the way back down to the learning objective. Well, why do you want to do that? What is the objective of the lesson or the unit or the activity or whatever you want to bring up the ladder? Because SAMR is about growth, and there's nothing wrong with activities at the substitution level. However, there's something wrong if activities are at the activities that you're teaching today you're substituting with the device, and then in June as a teacher you're still only substituting with the device. You want to show growth in your lessons and bring it just like what you would like to see in your students. So you can find actually this image of the blended ladder on my Pinterest page. You can search Shannon Soger in Pinterest. Please download it. I believe I also have it posted on my blog. But download it. What we have done is you see down in the lower picture, this is an art teacher in the summer professional development that I hosted on blended ladders and moving lessons above the line. And so I took that, we put on big paper and laminated them, and then we just used vis-a-vis markers and write on them again and again and again. So we practice what we preach here. So I integrate these into professional development with our teachers, with our administrators, and specifically with the coaches, because they're the ones going across 8 buildings. So you kind of start at the bottom and then work your way up the SAMR ladder. So the last thing I wanted to kind of talk about on innovative teaching and learning is our students. So our students, right, so we have 400 staff members, but we have 4,000 students. And so we recognize them just like we recognize our teachers. And we use them just like we use our instructional coaches. Guess what? We have an ISWAT team. ISWAT stands for I'm a student willing to assist with technology. And these are 3rd through 8th grade, 3rd graders through 8th graders that meet as a club, just like a yearbook club or any other club that you have at your school. They meet, it looks a little bit different across all 8 buildings, but basically they get together. There's a leader, and there is a combination of screencasting, like tech how-to stuff, and also like the coaching side of how to integrate particular apps or in the classroom. They actually host student professional development. So after school, like at Kamensky, they had teachers or the kids wanted to teach their peers how to make iMovie trailers. And so they put up a sign that they were hosting an after-school professional development on how to make iMovie trailers. These are 4th and 5th graders. And the teachers got word of it at Kamensky, and they said, can we go to that PD? And the students were like, yeah. So there were actually teachers coming and learning from their students on how to make an iMovie trailer. They've done other after-school PDs like on Scratch and Hopscotch. The ISWAT team got really into coding last year then we bring them all together once a month, just kind of like we meet with our professional development team and I meet with my coaches They come together once a month for AOK, and AOK stands for Ambassadors of Knowledge. And our coaches, Jordan Garrett and Todd Biddorf, they run the iSWAT team this year. So now they bring just a few members, a few kids from each of the 8 iSWAT teams to come together and share out what they're doing at their schools. And then they kind of use this time to collaborate, learn from each other, start their own kind of project, bring other things back, and just really become these like ambassadors, these student ambassadors. It's amazing what this club has turned into. Yeah, it's incredible. So the Steve Jobs MacBook Pro Award is another way we have brought into recognizing our students and focusing on that teaching and learning, that learning that's above the line. And so we created this award, I think 3 years ago. And so every month at our board meetings we had a Student of the Month. We still do have Student of the Month, and that's kind of an award recognized for behavior, kind of all around, Student of the Month. Well, we now have also added Steve Jobs students, and these are students who are going above and beyond with technology. And they bring their device so they're nominated, so there's a different grade level every month, and they bring their device to the board meeting. They get recognized in front of the board and their community, so this also is bringing in their parents and their teachers. So they're recognized, they come up to the podium, and their name is announced, they get their picture. It's a big deal. And then at the break, they go to the SPAC table and they all present a project that they have worked on. A lot of times they'll go back to that table and they'll like, I have 3 projects I want to show you. Like the kids are they're so excited to share what they have done. And so this is a tweet from Ms. Campabella. Actually, this is Natalie, her old 4th grade student, just recognizing her for earning the Steve Jobs Mac Pro Award. Proud teacher, Pershing Pride. This was last month's board meeting. I kind of want to also talk about above the line teaching and learning through this flexible learning environment. So learning spaces is like a whole new phenomenon. Well, I mean, it's been going on for a while, but once you're starting to bring all this technology in the classroom, whether it's no matter what device, the furniture starts to look different. The way that the rooms look, where teaching and learning is happening, looks different. So like it is every day, just about any day you walk through any of the hallways, you will see hallway learning. So in the upper left-hand corner, these are 2 students that are working out some math problems on their dry erase boards, but they're recording themselves in photo booth for later review and to help for them to explain what they're doing in solving problems. That's a little bit harder to do within the classroom because you can't have 30 kids all talking at once. So you see this flexible environment of learning happening in the hallways. And rarely there's ever a teacher out there supervising them. And you just, you watch them, they're doing their thing, and you just keep walking, and I don't know. So the same thing, hallway learning is happening in the upper right-hand corner, and this is with using some augmented reality where the child is scanning the molecule and it's going to come to life. That molecule is going to turn into a actual video of a water molecule to explain more about it. In the lower left-hand corner, if you are a big ed tech guru, you are familiar with Brad Wade and Drew Minnick. They're educators, former educators from Michigan who now work for DACRI. Their blog is 2 Guys and Some iPads, which is phenomenal. They host this show depending on when they're in town and stuff. But they host this show in South Berwyn. We were on their show just a few weeks ago. It was probably one of the most funnest experiences ever. They are hilarious, but huge advocates for teaching and learning, and specifically what they're doing now with DACRI is Daiquiri Education is an augmented reality company, and it's a little bit different if you're familiar with like Erasmo, where you're not just, or like a QR code that you just scan and it takes you somewhere. You don't need to follow a channel. It's just, it's a lot more to it. And they also have these pieces, these like periodic table of elements, these blocks that you can scan using the Daiquiri app. And the app is free. You scan the block, and then the element gold actually comes to life, and it's really, really cool. But anyway, so they were in our district. We were one of their 5 flagship schools in the world to use their 4D Studio software, and they are giving us training in our new professional development room. So if you notice kind of on the wall, so there's a teacher a TV behind Brad, and Drew, that there's an Apple TV connected to that, but they're both looking at 2 other TVs on the other side of the room that have Apple TVs connected to it. And then you see the flat tables. They have power in the table. The chairs are these twirly chairs, so no matter if you're a teacher that's going to mirror up to any one of the TVs, you could just quickly, roll around and be looking at a different TV at that moment. And then what looks like just a plain dry erase board or chart paper on the walls, those actually come off, so you can lift it up and then bring it over to a table and write on it, and then pick it back up and put it on the wall and kind of move them. So it's this whole kind of interactive room. We hope that someday we can have 8 professional development rooms just like this in all of our buildings. It's awesome. So it's a little above the line, flexible learning environment for you. In the lower right-hand corner, you see a student, a 5th grade student, who is doing some recording in front of a green screen. And so we're really taking kids out of their environment, because now it's just not what the background that's behind me. She's making a TouchCast video, but she can be having, her background could be on the beach, or in Ireland, or in Greece, or on top of the Willis Tower. It can be however it relates to the project or the video that she's creating. So just a little thing like a green wall. We have Piper School actually painted one of their walls green, so you don't have to worry about taking up and down like this curtain or whatnot. But just a simple green curtain or fabric will take you literally anywhere. Finally, this idea of flexible learning environment, again, utilizing our students. So I believe we're using #PitCrew for this. At Brian James Williams, he is a middle school teacher at Freedom that helped create our first Patriot IT department. And last summer we went through the role, or we accepted the challenge of wanting to re-image and update 4,000 devices. Because of how we rolled out our pilots, or basically we couldn't do it virtually because we had to rebind some of these devices to the network. And regardless, the tech department explained to me that, Shannon, these devices need to be like every single one of them has to be hand touched. But we wanted everybody on Mavericks, and we wanted to move forward with that, so we were ready for the school year. And well, now we've got Yosemite, so that'll be another battle next summer, but hopefully we'll be able to do it wirelessly then. So I said, well, we have 3 guys in our tech department, and then we have a 4th, our technology director. And so how are 4 guys going to re-image that many devices in one summer and have it ready for the beginning of the school year? Also, not to mention, we had 700 kids participating in a virtual summer school that were using their device all summer. So we got this team of Brian, so I paid Brian for the summer. They worked 3 days a week for half days, and these kids came in and they learned how to re-image the devices, and they learned it was a very slow process, but they worked really, really hard, and they learned a lot. And we were giving them this experience. Like, some of these kids, this is really like their passion or what they're really interested in. So it's very likely some of these kids are going to end up in these IT departments. So it was, I walked in, I would always go in and check on them over the summer, and they had, like, on the dry erase board in the back right, they had this competition going on who was imaging, who imaged more computers that day. What's actually interesting is that this team re-imaged more devices than one of our guys in the tech department. And he's like, well, Shannon, that's not fair. You know, there's like whatever 8 of them. And I said, but they were only working 3 days and half day, and they're 13. So anyways, they were a big help to us last summer, our pit crew. Compelling evidence of success. So now you're kind of like, okay, so Shannon, you guys are doing this above the line teaching and learning. You're constantly pushing teachers, moving your coaches in these directions, recognizing teacher leaders, recognizing students. What does all that mean? What has that done for your school district? So let's just look at a couple of these facts here. 1,700 hours on IXL, 318,017 problems attempted in 1 week. This was just one typical week last year. And so you're like, okay, Shannon, IXL, this is a math program. It's an augmentation tool. Basically, they log in with their account. They can access math practice problems at any level, kindergarten all the way up to high school, I believe. And there's every skill there is an activity on, and it's just repetitive. So it's, you know, multiplication, and it gets increasingly harder as you go up to master the skill. And you have to, it gets progressively harder, and then until you get 100 points, then you master your skill, and then you can move on. And it's augmentation. It's a great tool because before the technology, I couldn't have my kids do even 100 problems in a day and me grade it, get it back to them, and then explain to them why they got it wrong or not. So this system, this program, this tool allows them to, you know, it finds out right away if they're right or wrong, and it gives you a little description in the right-hand corner of the strategy to take to get the right answer. So again, you're like, this is just augmentation. Well, what we were able to do is bring this program into our virtual summer school. So we have, so at Lindsay Lard led our virtual summer school. The VSS, it was for students in first grade, 1st to 7th grade, where they just kept their device this summer because we kind of felt like, okay, well, for 3 months over the summer, we have all these devices that just sit in carts or sit locked up or in all these licenses that aren't being used. So, but at the same time, we can't afford also to pay teachers for, you know, to have these kids involved in year-end schooling and summer school all year. And anyways, the kids are so it was like one teacher, one virtual summer school teacher that was assigned about 40 kids. And so they virtually checked in with their students. So their students, their jobs were to go on IXL. They were going Mayan reading, so different subscriptions that we had, and their teacher was able to see their progress and track their minutes, and as long as they kept up with all the tasks they were doing, then they got to remain in virtual summer school. Otherwise, they would, you know, communicate, check in with the parent, or say, okay, you're not doing your minutes or whatnot. You need to return the device back to school. We actually saw a huge 75% of our students either maintained or increased their benchmark from the spring until the beginning of this school year. 75% maintain or increase their benchmark in reading using our Discovery assessment. That's huge, especially in an environment that we are in Berwyn with a lot of ELL learners, a lot of second language, where all summer, you know, they're communicating with their families in Spanish, not to mention, so it's just phenomenal data from the virtual summer school program. So Mayan is another program that we use this summer. It is a digital library, basically, and the students, we have licenses throughout the whole district. You can check out them on Twitter at Mayan Reader. Jeremy Jesky is our director of literacy, so he actually brought Mayan to us. They have been a phenomenal partner. But what it does, you know, if you purchase one book in the Play Store or you know on the iPad and you read it once and then it's done. How do you do that? You know, 4,000 kids, so it's this huge collection of books, and then you can take a quiz at the end of it, and it tracks the books opened, the amount of books read, the time that was spent reading. It gives you all this data, and so again, we were using this during virtual summer school. So from October 2013, and this started as the pilot. We started it just at Kamensky, and then we grew and grew, and everybody actually ended up getting licenses. And so this data is from October when we first started to August, this past August. 513,000 books were opened, 247,000 books read. Incredible data. They're also adding some interactive tools, or just added some interactive tools to the licenses now that you can be annotating and adding other things to while you're reading. But then bringing this above the line, what this has turned into, if you check out my tweet in the lower right-hand corner, who watches student-created movie trailers during board meetings? We do. Hashtag I engage Berwyn and a tech chat. Mayan actually created this movie trailer contest, and they use the hashtag Trailer Tuesday. But I believe the program was like My Magical Mayan Trailer. I can't remember. There's a lot of M's. But it was an incentive for students to pick a book in Mayan, and then they competed in this trailer contest. So there was a rubric and everything that outlined that they had to follow, but they had to make a book trailer based on what they read to entice others to want to read the book. So at our September board meeting, we actually sat in the audience and watched the winning trailers, and the students were there. They stood up, and their parents were there, and we congratulated them. But it was just really, really cool. So again, it kind of brought that above the line. Attendance. So if you take a look, students this is attendance since 2009, and you know what we can't help with the kids that come into school. We can't help our demographics. We can't change, but what we can do is get kids coming to school. Kids can come to school, and kids are engaged in Berwyn. They want to be here every day, and you see that reflected in their attendance several times this school year. Schools like elementary schools of almost 600 kids have had one child absent. That has happened several different days this year because kids are engaged in what they're doing. Even though they can take, and all of our kids can take their device home, so even though they can take their device home and technically keep just learning from home. So here's another little slide of compelling evidence is SAMR practice. So there's an education technology profile tool report that if you use the Apple devices that Apple has to analyze where your staff is on the SAMR ladder. And so the top data is from 2013, the spring of 2013, after the first full year of being 100% one-to-one, and the bottom graph is data from the spring of 2014 after the second full year of being 100% one-to-one. Not huge changes, but you are seeing some increase, or specifically some increasing in the modification bar, as well as a decrease in substitution. Keeping in mind, this is not the exact same staff because there is teacher turnover. In Berwyn, we do have a lot of exciting things going on, and we're constantly touring people through our district, and so some of these teachers are being scooped up by other nearby districts. So we do have a lot of new staff at the beginning of every year. So this data is we're still pretty happy about that. Wrapping up here with some ongoing professional learning, we've just completely transformed our Institute days. These are our last year Institute days. We've called them iLearn. We use this at D100PD is our director of professional development, and we use the hashtag iLearnBSD100. But we use welcome and our own staff for welcome presenters and ignite presenters to kind of get our staff excited at the beginning. Last March, we actually had our first set of student-led ignites. We have breakout sessions, over 100 different breakout sessions just at one of these PDs. Over 70 of our staff, lead the PD, and this can be anywhere, just something little, or something really big from workflow into iPad workflow, or as simple as, well, how do I start using Class Dojo in my classroom? How do I get signed up? It's teacher choice. They get to choose which sessions they want to go to, and then we give them, just kind of like any other conference you would go to, you get a presenter bio, and we share all of the resources that these presenters use during the day, and then we evaluate and reflect on how they went. And that was last year, and this year we've transformed our Insta Days up into this Ed Camp style. And I think what's really big, this is Adrian, one of our student presenters, what's really big about the way we've transformed PD is that it's differentiated, it's ongoing, and it's staff directed. The staff are choosing what they are teaching and learning about, and it's really kind of changed this whole culture in Berwyn. I could talk on PD forever, but I know we're just about out of time. So I'm going to end on this slide with, joining our PLN. Here's our website. The bit.ly is a URL to our one-to-one page. As our Twitter handle, it's Google+. We are in iTunes U, Facebook. We actually are on Instagram and everything else too. So lots of stuff out there. I just want to thank you all for your time, and I think I'll have some questions here.
Shannon, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, first of all, let me apologize to you and all the attendees. I gave a riveting intro that had everybody in stitches, at least here in our conference room. Unfortunately, no one else could hear it. So my apologies. We had some audio difficulties here at the beginning, and when you started, that was the first thing that the attendees had heard.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad I still introduced myself then.
But you were the most important one here today. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining this webinar. I'm sure that people got a lot out of it. Unfortunately, we're at the hour. So what I think will be best, and there are a lot of questions, and we don't have enough time to get through them. Let's go ahead and we'll send the questions out to you. You can just type out email answers, and then we'll send those out to all the attendees. So they'll look at all the answers that way. So thank you so much. Again, apologies for the audio difficulty at the beginning. Anyone who would like a recorded version of this, this will be available on our website, and we will be following up with an email to all the attendees later. One thing we do have to do, though, before we close, we have to give away a Collins backpack to one winner. That was one of the promises here. So we have a hat with a bunch of names in it. I'm going to draw one out, and the winner is Hunter Pendleton. So Hunter, we will get in touch with you separately and get your address information, and we'll send you your Collins backpack. Congratulations. So thanks everyone for attending. Our next one will be in about 3 months, yet to be scheduled, but watch your emails from Brenthaven. We'll be sure to tell you about the next webinar. And as I said at the beginning, and no one can hear me, these are all about shared learnings. This is not easy, this conversion to the digital classroom. And our goal here is to help facilitate knowledge sharing across smart people like Shannon who've been there, done that, and out to our network of customers. So thanks for attending today. Shannon, thank you again so much. And this will conclude our webinar.
Fabulous. Thank you, Scott.
Okay.
Oh, you're good. Oh, that board is like awesome. By clicking OK,